Welcome to another Bandology interview. Bandology is a Canadian nonprofit dedicated to more music for more kids via education, collaboration, and community.
Hi everybody, my name is Sandy Wright and I'm the Education Manager at Bandology, a nonprofit whose goal is to bring more music to more kids through education, advocacy, and collaboration. Today, on our interview series, I am talking to Chris Cigolea, and we are talking about music education, and we are talking about his amazing career as a conductor, performer, and, of course, music educator. How are you doing today, Chris?
I'm great. Well, thank you very much, Sandy, for having me. It's a pleasure and an honor at the same time.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to have you on. We're so grateful you took the time to talk to us. First question, tell us about yourself. What do you do? How did you sort of become the music educator and community musician that you are?
Well, I'm a music teacher and a performer. I've done this all my life. I'm the conductor of Guelph Concert Band since, I believe, 2014. I'm also the music director at St. John's Kilmarnock School in Breslau, which is a private school. And I'm the founder of C.I.G School of the Performing Arts. I founded that in 2016 here in Guelph. And I just I'm a full-time musician and teacher. That's what I can say. You know, this is my my dream. My dream was to to be able to make a living with what I love.
That's amazing. So where did that dream start? Where was that moment of the journey of like you first picked up an instrument?
Well, I was 5 years old when I first picked up an instrument, and that was the violin, because my father was a violin teacher, and he wanted me to play the violin, and so I started when I was 5 years old with lessons, and then when I was 10 years old, or 12 years old, something like that. I think I was in grade 6. I started playing the clarinet. My grandfather was a clarinet player, so we had all these instruments in our house. And initially I didn't want to become a musician. You know, you're a child and you want to play. You want to do all the nice things, I guess. But my father, that was his goal, because he was a musician, and I wanted to become a soccer player, and he said, "Okay, with only one condition, you can go and train." And I thought I was pretty good, but I want you to study music too. So back in those days, I grew up in Romania, and in those days, if you want to belong to a soccer club, you actually have to go through a lot of tests since you were 6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So I got accepted at the city club, soccer club in Romania. And, I was going, to trainings to practices every morning, And every morning after soccer practice, I had violin lessons. So I was the only one going to the stadium with a violin, carrying the violin, everyone making fun of me. But it turned out to be great. I mean, my father had a saying growing up. He said, because, he made me practice, and I didn't enjoy it all the time, especially when you're practicing and you hear outside your buddies playing soccer and screaming and playing, and you have to practice road concerto for violin.
Yeah.
Oh man, it was great. But so he was always saying, as I asked him, why do you want me to be a musician? And he said, listen, I want you to go to work singing. I want you to play an instrument at work or do music.
Mm-hmm.
And when you come back home, I want you to be singing. That was his dream, his thing, right? And a few years after that, I was 19 years old, and I was playing with the radio orchestra in Romania, in Bucharest, and I was in a subway, and I was whistling a song that a piece that we were supposed to practice that day, and instantly my father's words came to mind. Like, wow, I'm going to work, not singing but whistling. But
Yeah.
so, and wow, this is so good, and it was great since. It was wonderful.
That's that's a great story, especially the bit about wanting to become a soccer player, because who doesn't?
Actually, you know what? I played professionally for a year and a half.
Oh, really? Wow, you
When I
did.
moved to Bucharest, yes, I continue playing soccer. And when I was 17 and a half, I started playing for a team that was in a second league,
Hmm.
right? And it was fun. And I played for a year and a half, almost 2 seasons. And then I decided that I want to follow the music career. And I went to the conservatoire, and I had to give up soccer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you sort of got a bit of the best of both worlds there, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super. That's really cool. When you went to the conservatoire and sort of before that and beyond, who were your sort of like mentors or any like musical influences that you had during the sort of like formative parts of that, like your music journey?
It's very hard to say because when I was growing up, I was growing up in a communist Romania,
Hmm.
and we didn't have a lot of connections to the outside world. It was very little that you could, little music that you could hear through movies, for example, but not a lot of jazz, for example. However, when I was in grade 9 or 10, I've heard for the first time Arturo Sandoval with Dizzy Gillespie,
Mm.
their first album that they did together, and I I didn't even know at that time what instruments are those. It's like I've never heard a trumpet sounding like that. Like,
Yeah,
this can't be a trumpet. How can they play so fast and so high? And so I was amazed by the technicality of that music and the creativity of that music. However, I didn't understand what was going on. I thought maybe they were reading, because I was only studying classical music and folk music, wherever I could play. But I wasn't grown up especially in high school. We didn't have a lot of connection, contacts, things like that we could relate to. I had great teachers, though,
hmm,
and very inspiring colleagues that were practicing all the time, and I was always looking up to someone, you
yeah,
know. Um, but no, yeah, as I said, for jazz music, it was first time was Arturo Sandoval, Dizzy Gillespie. That recording, that I had it in my car on a tape recorder, and I was listening to it until I could not use that tape anymore, and I had
yeah.
to throw it away. And for classical music, when I turned 19, a friend of mine traveled to France, and he brought me a tape with Wynton Marsalis, The Carnival.
Mm.
And that was an eye-opening for me. Yeah, I was so blown away by what I was hearing on that album, and I decided that I realized that trumpet is not only Hummel or Haydn concerto or some marching band stuff, is way more than that. And I start doing a little bit of digging,
Yeah.
and but after that, when I was 23 years old, I moved to Canada, and I got all that knowledge and everything I wanted was right here. The second day I arrived here in Canada, I went because I came to Quebec first,
Hmm.
and I looked for a music store, and the first things I bought there was silent mute, brass silent mute made by Yamaha. I think it was the first year they made those.
Yeah.
I could practice in the apartment, and I found the album, the whole album, Carnival, by the one that
Yeah.
William did, and I bought the whole book with all the songs. It was amazing. I couldn't believe that I could find that thing there. So those were my first two things I bought on my second day in Canada.
That's amazing. Especially, the brass mute. That thing has saved every brass player I ever know swears by having one of those.
Yeah.
It saves especially when you live in close quarters when you're in university and there's someone on a very thin wall on the other side, it makes life so much simpler.
Yeah.
From that point, as you sort of like came to Canada and like moved into like the professional stage of your like career, can you think of any highlights either as a performer or as like an educator, even with the C.I.G school since it's sort of opened?
It didn't happen when I first came to Canada. Honestly, for the first 8 months, I was thinking of changing my careers,
Mm.
because I moved from Quebec to Ontario, and I couldn't speak the language. I couldn't speak any English,
Hmm.
and uh, I never thought that I would continue music here. So everything happened when here I went to Wilfrid Laurier University, and I wanted to talk to a trumpet professor, and
Hmm.
that person was Mr. Guy Few, who was he's still teaching at Laurier.
I have played with Guy. Well, I've not played. I've page turned for Guy Few before.
Yeah, he's an amazing guy, and I must say that if it wasn't for Guy Few, I wouldn't have been a musician in this country.
Wow.
Because he was the first person in the music industry, in the music business, that I've met. And
Hmm.
I said to him, "Listen, I'm a trumpet player. I want to play something for you, and I want you to tell me if I have a chance in this country." And I played something for him. I played a couple of concertos, and he said, "Yeah, I think you'll do fine, and I want you to come here." So he helped me with all the paperwork and everything, because I didn't know anything. He
Yeah.
even called me. He even called me the day of the audition. He called me at home. He said, "You come here now. It's your audition time." And it was so interesting. I mean, I couldn't speak the language. I could, you know, understand something, but it was,
Mhm.
and I didn't have money. We had a young child. He was a year old at that time. So it's hard. It's hard to have a family and thinking of, okay, I'm going to go back to school and hopefully I'm going to make it, right?
Yeah.
I didn't even have an instrument. I had a trumpet that was in a very bad shape. I didn't have a mouthpiece. And Guy Few gave me his trumpet, and he gave me his trumpet, gave me his mouthpiece, and he's. I mean, he was the the greatest support that I've ever had,
Yeah.
and I owe him everything.
That's
Uh,
amazing.
yeah, everything that happened to me in this country was because of him.
That's so having someone like that at that stage I keep saying it's amazing, but it genuinely is. That's an enormous amount of like
Yeah,
gift to provide and sort of, you know, mentorship that is extraordinarily valuable as both a teacher and a person who is a student. That kind of relationship is really important, and it's very at any stage, and it's so cool. And that's part of why music education to me is
yeah,
really really cool because you get to maybe not be that person, but you get to help guide people to that person, or at least get them and involved enough that they start seeking out mentorship like that, or you do get to be that person. And that's sort of the wonderful thing for me a lot of the time. But for you, why do you sort of, what is music education important to you as like a person who, music directs at a school and runs their own music school and conducts bands?
Yeah, well, music is is teaching creativity, is teaching confidence, time management. These are the most important elements that creates leaders, right? It teaches you about the different cultures, integrity, and acceptance. Um, it incorporates competition, love, compassion, creates friendship, teaches you how to work together with others, and then a creative environment for the same goal.
Hmm.
I mean, it's everything, And to me, to be able to share my knowledge, and I wouldn't say my talent, but my knowledge with kids and spread the love is
Yeah.
it's just amazing.
Yeah. No, it has so many benefits that are outside of just being able to play an instrument and really well in a group, but that experience is so beautiful. And that's having been there recently enough that I remember what it feels like to be in that like educational environment, but also getting to see it manifest in like Bandology's band camp and my own teaching is always really, it always feels like a massive highlight of my day when I get to go like, hey, that person made something and I helped them make that.
It is good feeling. It's, you get the rush every day when you see your students playing great music and you know that you taught them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they can create something. It's really awesome.
Yeah. For you, in both teaching and like the performing thing, are there any like highlights that stick out of your head of you go, oh yeah, I remember that. It was amazing. Or even just like small things that you just like a moment that were just like, yes, I'm going to remember that forever.
Yeah. Well, performing wise, one of the highlights of my career was 3 years ago at a blues festival in Romania when I was with Mr. Arturo Sandoval, the trumpet player who was my idol, my
Hmm.
mentor, and I even met him privately for lessons. But he saw me, we're talking, and he said, do you have your trumpet with you? And I said, yes, I do. And he says, I want you to play with me tonight. So he invited me to play with him and his band for that evening, and that was so amazing. That was, I've never even thought that, I could ever play on the same stage, share the stage with
Hmm.
idol. You know, it's unbelievable. It's yeah. So that was something that I would definitely never forget, and that was I could put it up there on my my career achievements, if you
Yeah.
can do that. And for teaching was again 3 years ago when one of my students that I taught since he was, I don't know, 7, 8 years old. He got accepted into Juilliard School of Music to study.
Wow.
But his name is William Leathers, and he's now he had a this year he got a full scholarship to do his master's at Juilliard, and he is one of the most prominent young trumpet players in the world.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy for him, and um, that was a moment in my career as a teacher when I thought, "Wow, I think I did something good."
Yeah.
you know,
That's an amazing achievement for him. And is a wonderful experience to see like that success and the work that
yeah,
you've helped them put in sort of manifest itself in someone creating like beautiful music for people around the world.
Exactly.
Yeah. So do you have like advice to people who are young musicians who are maybe interested in pursuing music generally, but also looking at sort of what you do and like the conducting side and the teaching side and going, how do I get in there?
My advice is to find the best teacher you can get, period. And study with professional musicians that are already on the path that you want to pursue.
Hmm.
Um, be versatile because, there are not a lot of opportunities today for only one style. So you have to
Yeah.
be versatile, listen to everything, try to play everything, try to study and practice and understand every style of music that, you can listen to. Um, listen to all kinds of music and all kinds of instruments and, go deeper into listening, not just, listen for the heck of listening.
Yeah.
Um, and very important is make friends now from the industry, because those friends are going to become your connections later.
Yeah.
And be prepared all the time, and very important, be on time. That's something that professional musicians sometimes struggle with, and they lose
Yes.
a lot of gigs because of that.
Yeah.
Um, don't forget that no matter how much you practice, there's always someone who practices more than you, and don't have another alternative. If you really want to do this, don't have another alternative to fall back on. Just hang in there, because one day great things are going to happen for you.
That's very good advice, especially the bit about being on time. As a person who has once played a wedding and my keyboardist showed up 45 minutes late to the dress rehearsal, it's great. I was very stressed, but it's that sort of like those are every bit of that is something that I've heard as like a person, somewhat perpetual music student, and they're great. They're listen to him. Anybody watching who is trying to do this, but yeah, for you as a sort of person working, so do you have any in your own like work as a conductor or teacher, anything exciting plans or new projects coming up sort of in the next little bit?
It's kind of hard right now to make a lot of plans,
Yeah.
especially because of the situation we're in. But I'm planning to do a brass festival in Europe, hopefully in the month of July. And of course, I'm playing with a jazz band now, the jazz group called Phoenix,
Hmm.
and we're gonna have a few gigs around here. And in terms of conducting, I'm just hopefully we're gonna be able to start performing again and do concerts, and we'll see what's gonna happen. But my goal every day is to be ready, to be ready every day, and keep focused, stay um, motivated, and practice. I practice every day, even now, a couple of hours. And, when the phone rings, I'm ready.
That's also a good piece of advice. But yeah, thank you so much for speaking with us today.
Very welcome. My pleasure.
I hope the things you're planning come to fruition. And I, for both your sake and also the sake of us moving into a phase where more music can get shared within the challenging like environment we're in right now. But thank you so much for speaking with me. Thank you, everybody, for watching. This has been an episode of Bandology's interview series. I've been Sandy Wright, the education manager at Bandology, speaking with Dr. Chris Cigolea. And hopefully, we are able to share more music with you soon, coming from the pandemic world that we are in. Have a great evening, everybody, and thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Sandy.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. If you like what you heard, you can learn more about our organization at bandology.ca, which features information about music education, advocacy, and research, and our Play a Gig and Bandcamp programs. Follow us on social media for more videos, performance, and interviews on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.